It's your boy John the Liquidator coming back with a major story. So it looks like WNBA owners is trying their damnedest to stop Project B and stop all of the superstars from going overseas. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to New York. Let's get it. Let's go. And I hope everybody's having a great day today because we got more news coming out of the WNBA pipeline in regards to the CBA agreement. Now, we heard just, I believe, last night that they came up with a proposal, the night before last, I should say, that they came.
The WNBA owners have just dropped an absolutely radical new plan. And believe me, it's sending massive shockwaves throughout the entire league. This isn't just some minor policy change. It's a move so aggressive that it could potentially push superstars, including the phenomenal Caitlin Clark, directly into the waiting arms of a powerful new rival, Project B. As you can imagine, fans are already in a complete uproar, viewing these desperate maneuvers as nothing less than a direct betrayal of player loyalty. They see it for what it is, an unintentional but powerful push towards that rival league. And here's the thing you have to understand. This isn't just about money anymore. This is a battle for control. The owner's desperate gambit to block Project B might just backfire in the most spectacular way possible, leaving behind a devastating trail of furious fans and deeply disillusioned athletes. Right now, the entire future of women's basketball is hanging in the balance, and what's unfolding behind closed doors is proving to be far more scandalous than anyone could have possibly imagined.
Came up with a proposal to extend the CBA until the 1st. Now, what we did here was the first proposal, and that is WNBA players actually making $1 million. Well, I'm here to tell you, news just broke about an hour ago, and they want the season to be shorter. They don't want this offseason to be all these months. Because you want to know why? Project B is on the rise. Now, I told y'all this the other day. I say, look, if the WNBA do not strike a deal and somehow have a season lockout before Project B kicked off, guess what that means? Disaster, disaster, disaster for their future. Because there's countless.
The absolute core of this unprecedented controversy really centers on a new collective bargaining agreement proposal. And it arrived carrying an absolute bombshell. We're talking about a drastic, almost punitive shortening of the WNBA offseason. Let me be clear, this isn't just some minor scheduling tweak they're proposing. This is a highly calculated, strategic maneuver specifically designed to keep players locked into the league's ecosystem year-round. By doing this, it becomes virtually impossible for them to even entertain those lucrative overseas opportunities, or, more specifically, to engage with the rising threat that is Project B. The league's motive here is completely transparent. They're trying to build a wall around their talent. Yet, the implications this has for player freedom and their financial autonomy are nothing short of catastrophic, and it has, unsurprisingly, sparked immediate and fierce backlash from both the players and their incredibly fervent supporters.
Now, I told y'all this the other day. I say, look, if the WNBA do not strike a deal and somehow have a season lockout before Project B kicked off, guess what that means? Disaster, disaster, disaster for their future. Because there's countless of WNBA superstars that is free agents this year. And I keep telling y'all, if Project B be like, y'all know what? We don't want y'all playing in this year. We'll throw an extra $2 million on that. Guess what these ladies going to do? Well, $2 million. I ain't never made $2 million. Hell, sign me away. Sorry, W, we can't play. And that's exactly what's about to happen, potentially. Now, any constable took to...
But wait, because the demands absolutely do not stop there. In a move that has left players utterly stunned and fans seething with outrage, the WNBA has also proposed cutting team housing entirely. Now, historically, the league's teams have been required to provide in-season housing for their athletes. This isn't just a perk, it's a fundamental benefit that has now been placed directly on the chopping block. To be clear, this is not a small concession we're talking about. This represents a massive financial burden being suddenly and unceremoniously shifted directly onto the shoulders of the players themselves. And what's wild is that this is happening even as the league claims it's offering improved compensation. This glaring hypocrisy is just fueling the fire, making the WNBA's offer look less like a generous proposal for progress and much more like a harsh, take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum, one that's clearly designed to exert the maximum possible pressure on the players.
And that's exactly what's about to happen potentially. Now, Andy Constable took to Twitter a minute ago to repost some stuff from ESPN, and I'm here to tell you it is looking spooky for the future of the WNBA. Now, will these owners get what they want? Because now it's getting to the point they got to put the money where their mouth is now, because they're making all these demands about the season being shorter and all this because they do not want these ladies to go to Project B. I'm here to tell you they do not want this. Breaking news: the WNBA proposed cutting team housing in addition to an early.
The proposed changes also throw in an even earlier start date for training camp, potentially kicking off as early as the middle of March. Now, on the surface, that might seem like a simple, innocuous schedule adjustment, but it carries incredibly serious implications, especially for the incoming rookie class. Think about it, a mid-March start would directly interfere with the NCAA tournament, which means that top collegiate stars, people like Caitlin Clark, would be forced to choose between finishing their celebrated college careers and joining the WNBA season, already in progress. The very thought of Clark, a true generational talent, either missing weeks of her highly anticipated rookie season or being rushed into her professional career prematurely, has ignited absolute fury among the fan base.
In addition to an earlier start date, according to multiple sources, the start date for training camp could easily come as mid-March, sources indicated, which will come with serious implications. Whoa, baby. So that means if the season started in March, right? So y'all trying to have the season start in April? Basically, y'all want to start a month earlier? If I'm not mistaken. So we'll stay here. The WNBA has proposed a 7-figure base max salary as part of a new collective bargaining agreement, but it's coming at a cost, bro.
Now let's talk about the money, because the league's latest proposal does offer a significant increase in base salaries, dangling a 7-figure max salary and an average that would exceed $500,000. Superstars could even qualify for what they're calling supermax deals, potentially reaching up to a staggering $1.2 million. On the surface, this sounds like a huge win for the players, right? A major step towards the equitable compensation they've been fighting for. However, and this is a huge however, when you view these numbers alongside the demands for an earlier start, a much shorter offseason, and the complete elimination of housing benefits, that generous salary increase starts to look a lot more like a desperate bait and switch. It feels like a tactic, a means to justify the tightening leash that they are trying to put on player freedom and their career choices.
Figure base max salary as part of a new collective bargaining agreement, but it's coming at a cost, bro. Now, the league has removed team housing from proposals submitted to the Women's National Basketball Players Association, including that the most recent league sources told Front Office Sports. So I'm guessing they was paying for these ladies' houses. The teams has been required to provide players with in-season housing. So damn. Now, I don't know if other leagues do this. They could, but I doubt it. The league has also proposed lengthening up the season, including
Project B, also known as the Arrival League, which is backed by substantial Saudi investments, stands as the undeniable and primary catalyst behind all of these frantic moves from the WNBA. The owners clearly never anticipated such a financially potent competitor emerging from the shadows, one that is more than willing to invest millions upon millions into women's basketball at a time when they believed their monopoly was absolutely secure. The very existence of Project B is proving to be a true nail in the coffin for the WNBA's years of past complacency, challenging the league to finally step up and meet the players' long-standing financial demand. The owners' current actions, however, don't scream confidence. They reveal a deeply rooted, almost palpable fear of this new and powerful competition.
An earlier start date that is expected to interfere with the NCAA tournament and potential other leagues such as Project B. Project B with the blue underline. Now, the start date for the training camp could be as early as mid-March. Sources indicated the current 44-game regular season runs From mid-May to early September, the WNBA Finals ends on October the 10th. Now, this is what a source said. It doesn't make logic sense, one source said. Y'all want to know why it don't make sense? It don't make sense because they're trying to stop Project B by...
And the source of that fear is crystal clear. One source has revealed that Project B is offering players truly astronomical sums of money, potentially upwards of $2 to $3 million for a single season. Let that sink in. These are figures that are far beyond what even the top WNBA players are currently earning. This stark, glaring financial contrast is the WNBA's absolute biggest nightmare brought to light. Because while the league is now, finally, proposing million-dollar salaries, Project B's offers are already a proven reality, creating an almost irresistible allure for players who are justifiably tired of being undervalued for so long. This financial disparity is the single, undeniable reason why so many players are now openly and very seriously considering leaving the WNBA behind.
B by any means necessary. Bro, Project B is the nail in the coffin for the W. This is a league they never wanted to exist. They never thought somebody was willing to put millions of dollars behind these ladies. And I'm here to tell you, I am for it. You know, I am for it because I've been saying this and I'll say it again. These ladies are going to play totally different basketball when them M's are involved. Hell, you would too. You will be standing on different type of business if the M's was involved. Now, the league latest proposed reported Monday was highly highlighted by salary increases according to sources. Now, this was yesterday.
Caitlin Clark represents the ultimate prize in this high-stakes battle for the soul of women's basketball, and her potential decision to join Project B would be nothing short of catastrophic for the WNBA. It would effectively end their hopes of retaining top talent and would severely, perhaps irreparably, impact their marketability. The owners are keenly, painfully aware of Clark's immense drawing power and the massive cultural impact she brings with her. Their drastic proposals, including the audacious move of interfering with the NCAA schedule, are a desperate, heavy-handed attempt to ensure she remains in their league at all costs. But ironically, these very actions, this immense pressure, might be the very thing that pushes her away. Fans are expressing immense outrage over what they see as the owner's deeply cynical strategy. They view the housing cut, the season changes, and the blatant interference with college careers as disrespectful and exploitative, even with the proposed salary bumps. The sentiment online and in the stands is crystal clear. WNBA owners are not genuinely prioritizing player well-being. Instead, they're engaging in a crude, transparent power play to protect their investments from Project B. This perceived manipulation of players, both current and future stars, is turning a significant portion of the fan base against the league's current leadership. The rule requiring players to be in market by the start of training camp or face suspension is another contentious point, exacerbating player dissatisfaction. This prioritization clause, introduced in the last CBA, has significantly impacted international players who often have lucrative commitments overseas. By moving the training camp earlier, the WNBA is making this clause even more restrictive, potentially forcing a choice between international play and their WNBA career, which further demonstrates the league's unwavering desire to control its athletes. And the exodus has already begun. Several big names have already made the jump, signaling the serious threat Project B poses. Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and even the president of the Players Union, Nneka Ogwumike, have reportedly engaged with the new league, and the list of interested top stars like Kelsey Plum and Asia Wilson is growing. These high-profile defections prove that the damage is already underway. As one source put it, these players are trailblazers, showing others that a viable, financially rewarding alternative now exists, and their courage is inspiring more to consider the switch. A source even explicitly stated that the WNBA's latest proposal doesn't make logical sense if its true intent was player retention and growth. This sentiment highlights the massive disconnect between the league's public narrative and its actual internal strategy. The proposals are seen as blunt instruments, designed purely to disrupt Project B's timeline and recruitment efforts, rather than fostering a truly attractive environment for players. This lack of logical coherence only fuels suspicion, and content undermines any remaining trust. The current CBA allows the WNBA to move the start of training camp up to April 1st, but no more than 30 days before the regular season begins. The new proposal pushes this limit significantly, aiming for that mid-March start. This aggressive timing reveals the owner's desperation to close any windows of opportunity for players to consider Project B or other international leagues, further constraining player freedom and dictating their entire year-round schedules. This subtle change hides a major power shift. The WNBA's decision last October to increase the regular season to 44 games and extend the finals to a 7-game format also sparked internal dissent, with respected coaches like Becky Hammon expressing unhappiness. This past move, seen by many as benefiting only certain teams, foreshadowed the current push for longer, earlier seasons. It illustrates a disturbing pattern of decision-making by the league that consistently prioritizes commercial interests over the practical realities and well-being of its players and coaching staff, paving the way for the current outrage. This outrage isn't just about financial terms, it's about the perceived disrespect shown to the players. The move to cut housing, while simultaneously demanding an earlier start that jeopardizes college careers, feels like a slap in the face. Players dedicate their entire lives to the sport, and to have basic support like housing stripped away, even with salary increases, sends a clear message about their perceived value beyond their on-court performance. This emotional toll is creating a deeper, more personal rift between the players and ownership. The Saudi-backed Project B has demonstrated an unprecedented willingness to invest heavily in women's basketball, a commitment that many feel the WNBA owners have historically lacked. This stark contrast in financial backing and perceived dedication is a crucial element driving player interest in the new league. Players are seeing a genuine opportunity for groundbreaking earnings and recognition that has been elusive for far too long in their home league. It's an undeniable draw. The WNBA's urgent demand for a shorter off-season and earlier start date reflects a deep-seated fear that without these drastic measures, a significant exodus of top-tier talent to Project B is simply inevitable. They know players are motivated by money, and Project B is offering it in spades. This aggressive, defensive strategy, however, risks alienating the very players they are trying to retain, making the WNBA appear desperate and coercive rather than a desirable destination for top athletes. This conflict highlights a fundamental power struggle within professional sports. WNBA owners are attempting to assert their dominance and protect their existing investments, while players, now empowered by a new, lucrative alternative, are demanding more agency and fair compensation. This isn't just a contract negotiation, it's a battle for the future landscape of women's basketball, where player power is finally starting to challenge long-established ownership control. The stakes have never been higher for all involved. Consequently, many fans are now questioning the WNBA's long-term vision and its commitment to its athletes. They see the owner's reactive, heavy-handed tactics as short-sighted and potentially self-destructive. Instead of fostering a genuinely competitive and supportive environment that naturally retains talent, the league seems to be resorting to coercive measures, inadvertently making Project B a more attractive escape route. The sentiment is that WNBA owners should have thought about real player investment much sooner. Ultimately, the WNBA owners' desperate attempt to stop Project B through these controversial demands might be the very thing that pushes stars like Caitlin Clark and countless others straight into its arms. Fans are outraged by the perceived manipulation and disrespect, seeing clearly that the league's proposals, especially the housing cuts and early start dates, are designed to control players, not empower them. The future of the WNBA hangs precariously as this high-stakes gamble unfolds, leaving us all to wonder if they're inadvertently forcing their own demise. The WNBA just dropped a bombshell proposal, and it's creating a truly impossible choice for players like Caitlin Clark. Owners are scrambling, frantically pushing through desperate measures that aren't just drastic, they're specifically designed to corner the biggest stars in the game. They're talking about changes so shocking, so anti-player, that many believe they're inadvertently pushing legendary athletes straight into the arms of Project B, a rival league that promises fortunes beyond their wildest dreams. Fans are absolutely furious, watching as their favorite athletes are forced into an untenable position by the very league that is meant to support them. Let's be clear, this isn't just about money anymore. This is a war for control, and it looks like the WNBA is rapidly losing its grip. This sudden aggressive strategy from WNBA owners isn't coming from nowhere, it's a direct, panicked response to Project B, an emerging league that is quickly becoming the ultimate existential threat. Project B is no longer just a distant rumor, it's already actively signing major WNBA talent, offering salaries that absolutely dwarf what most players currently make. This rival league is backed by massive, unexpected investment, and it's promising a future where female athletes are finally compensated like the global superstars they are. The WNBA knows its bleeding talent, and their desperate new proposals are a chaotic, frantic attempt to staunch the flow, but the real question is, at what cost to their own players? In a desperate bid to retain talent, the WNBA did float a new collective bargaining agreement that includes a potential 7-figure base max salary. We're talking about a significant pay bump, with some players possibly earning up to $1.2 million and even gaining eligibility for supermax deals. The average salary would jump to an impressive $500,000, and the minimum could exceed $225,000. On paper, that sounds like a massive win for the players, a long overdue acknowledgement of their incredible work. But as is so often the case, there's a hidden cost, a cruel, calculated trade-off that has players and fans alike up in arms, revealing the true and cynical agenda behind these seemingly generous offers. The real shocker, the part that truly exposes the owner's intentions, came buried deep within the WNBA's new proposal. The league is planning to completely eliminate team-provided housing. For years, teams have been mandated to supply in-season housing for their players. This is a crucial benefit that eases the immense financial and logistical burden on athletes who are often relocating for short seasons. Let me stress, this isn't some small perk we're talking about, it's a fundamental support system that players rely on. To suddenly yank this away, especially at the exact same moment they're touting higher salaries, feels like a calculated slap in the face. It's a crystal clear indication that the owners are trying to cut costs wherever they possibly can, even if it means directly sacrificing player welfare and comfort. Removing team housing isn't just an inconvenience, it represents a significant immediate financial hit for the players, one that could potentially negate the perceived benefits of the salary increases entirely. Just imagine earning a higher salary only to have a substantial chunk of it immediately eaten up by rent, utilities, and the cost of furnishing temporary living spaces in some of the most expensive cities in the country. This move disproportionately affects younger players, those on minimum contracts, and frankly anyone without a permanent residence in their team's city. It is a glaring hypocrisy, offering more money with one hand while taking away a critical, cost-saving benefit with the other. Players are now rightfully asking, is this really progress? Another wildly controversial demand coming from the WNBA owners is a dramatically earlier start date for the season, with training camp potentially kicking off as early as mid-March. To put this in perspective, the current 44-game regular season typically runs from mid-May to early September, with the finals ending in October. Moving the start date up by a full month or even more drastically shortens the already limited off-season, giving players far less time to rest, recover, and pursue other lucrative opportunities that are critical to their career. This isn't just about playing more basketball, it's about controlling player time and options, specifically to combat the growing allure of international leagues, and of course Project. And this proposed mid-March start date for training camp has incredibly serious implications, especially for college stars on the level of Caitlin Clark. An early start like that would directly interfere with the NCAA tournament, a critical event for showcasing collegiate talent and preparing for the draft. Rookies would be forced to arrive weeks into the WNBA season, missing crucial training camp and team-building time, or even worse, having to choose between their collegiate championship dreams and their professional career. It's a deliberate, almost ruthless tactic designed to disrupt the pipeline of fresh talent and critically to make it impossible for players to participate in Project B, which has schedules that overlap. Adding insult to injury, the WNBA is also enforcing a prioritization clause from the last CBA, which mandates that players must be in the market by the start of training camp or they will face suspension. This clause has always been a divisive topic, But with the proposed earlier start date, its impact becomes even more severe and punishing. It essentially forces players to abandon lucrative international seasons, often where they earn significantly more than they do in the WNBA, just to be present for the entire WNBA schedule. This is nothing less than a direct attack on international players who rely on playing overseas to supplement their WNBA income, further restricting their financial autonomy and career choices. It's now unequivocally clear that these aggressive changes, the earlier start, the prioritization clause, the removal of housing, are all desperate, last-ditch efforts by WNBA owners to prevent players from joining Project B. They do not want this rival league to exist, let alone thrive. By making it logistically and financially challenging for players to commit to both leagues, they hope to isolate Project B into non-existence. But this heavy-handed, coercive approach is backfiring spectacularly, creating immense resentment among players and sparking widespread outrage among fans who see these actions for what they are: anti-athlete and dangerously short-sighted. For many, Project B is now seen as the nail in the coffin for the WNBA. Not because players inherently want to leave, but because the WNBA owners never ever believed that anyone would put significant money behind women's basketball. For years, players have been undervalued, underpaid, and undersupported. Now, with a league willing to invest millions, the entire landscape has fundamentally shifted. The current WNBA owners are now being forced to confront the harsh reality that their past complacency and their restrictive practices have flung the door wide open for a competitor that is ready to offer players the compensation and respect they truly deserve. The financial disparity between the two leagues is stark and simply impossible to ignore. Project B is reportedly offering contracts as high as $2 to $3 million per player. Now, compare that to the WNBA's new proposed max salary of $1 to $1.2 million. For many WNBA players who have never even come close to earning $1 million in a single season, the choice is becoming painfully, brutally obvious. It's not just about a slight increase in pay, it's about life-changing money that allows them to secure their financial future and that of their families. Suddenly, the WNBA's generous offers look a lot less appealing when a rival league is prepared to double them without a second thought. And make no mistake, the damage is already done, and the WNBA is losing key players at an alarming rate. Major names are already signing up with Project B, sending shockwaves through the league. We're talking about stars like Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, Kelsey Plum, and Aja Wilson, some of the biggest talents and most recognizable faces in the entire WNBA. Their commitment to Project B demonstrates that this isn't just some hypothetical threat, it's a rapidly expanding reality. These players are making a clear and powerful statement. They are ready to pursue opportunities where their talent is truly valued, regardless of the WNBA's last-minute, panicked concessions. All eyes are now turning to Caitlin Clark, the biggest fish in the vast ocean of women's basketball. If Clark, with her unprecedented draw and marketability, were to sign with Project B, it would be the ultimate blow, effectively sealing the WNBA's fate in the eyes of many. Her decision holds immense power, capable of shifting the entire landscape of professional women's basketball. The WNBA owners know this, which is precisely why their desperate measures are designed to try and lock down every major superstar, but especially Clark, hoping to prevent the catastrophic ripple effect her departure would inevitably cause. Ironically, the WNBA's aggressive attempts to stop players from joining Project B are having the exact opposite effect. By cutting essential benefits like housing, demanding an earlier, more restrictive schedule, and imposing punitive prioritization clauses, the owners are making the WNBA an increasingly less attractive option. These moves are not fostering loyalty, they are breeding deep resentment. Players are being forced to make impossible choices, and for many, Project B's straightforward higher-paying offer, despite its newness, is looking like a much more appealing and empowering path forward. Despite the WNBA's best efforts, fans are expressing profound and widespread outrage, seeing right through the league's thinly veiled attempts to control its players under the guise of improvement. They believe the owners are prioritizing their own bottom line and their league's dominance over the well-being and financial security of the very athletes who bring the game to life. Social media is absolutely ablaze with criticism, as supporters decry the perceived unfairness of asking players to sacrifice personal benefits and international opportunities, all while another league is offering unprecedented pay and respect. This sentiment further fuels the fire for Project B, making it an even more viable alternative in the eyes of the public. The contrast between the WNBA's historical underinvestment and Project B's willingness to spend big is absolutely stark. For far too long, WNBA players have been asked to sacrifice, to play for the love of the game, and to build a league on a shoestring budget. Now, when a competitor arrives with deep pockets, offering millions, the WNBA's belated financial offerings and simultaneous restrictive demands feel like too little too late. This sudden surge of investment, especially from Saudi interests, proves what many players have been saying for years. The money was always there, but the will to pay it simply was not. This entire saga isn't just about a few players leaving, it's a pivotal defining moment for the future of women's basketball. Will the WNBA adapt, truly prioritize its players and compete fairly? Or will its heavy-handed tactics alienate its stars and drive them away for good? The decisions being made right now by the owners will shape the landscape for decades to come, determining whether the league can evolve to meet the demands of modern athletes, or whether it will be overshadowed by more progressive, player-centric alternatives like Project B. The stakes couldn't possibly be higher for everyone involved. The harsh reality is that the WNBA's slow response means the damage is already done. The owners sat back for years, seemingly confident that no one would ever dare to challenge their monopoly on elite women's basketball. They completely underestimated the ambition of their players and the financial backing that could materialize from unexpected sources. Now they're playing catch-up, and their desperate proposals are far more likely to create a mass exodus than to stem the tide. They should have thought about fair compensation and genuine player support much sooner, long before a rival league emerged to offer what they consistently refused to provide. The financial muscle behind Project B, which comes primarily from Saudi investors, cannot be overstated. This isn't some grassroots startup. It's a heavily funded enterprise willing to commit millions where the WNBA hesitated for decades. This deep financial well allows Project B to offer unprecedented salaries and, crucially, to avoid the kind of penny-pinching, cost-cutting measures that are currently alienating WNBA players. The Saudis saw a massive opportunity where others saw only risk, and their investment is fundamentally reshaping the bargaining power of female athletes, giving them life-altering options they never had before. So as WNBA owners impose these draconian rules, an earlier season, no housing, forced prioritization, they are effectively pushing players like Caitlin Clark into an impossible corner. They claim they want to stop Project B, but their actions are making it look like the only logical, financially sound choice for a superstar seeking their true value. This isn't a direct force pushing players to Project B, but rather a force pushing them away from the WNBA's increasingly restrictive environment. The question isn't whether players will choose Project B, but whether the WNBA's owners are actually forcing their hand, ultimately creating massive outrage and reshaping the future of women's sports forever.